In the Middle Ages, love was never innocent. It was dangerous. A secret kiss could spark a war. Tonight, we uncover the forbidden love stories of the medieval world that they didn't want you to know. Number 1. Eleanor of Aquitaine, the Queen, who loved too boldly. Our first story begins with one of the most powerful women in medieval history. Born in 1122, Eleanor inherited vast lands in southern France, making her one of the wealthiest women of her time. Her hand in marriage was not a matter of romance, but of politics. At just 15 years old, she married Louis of France and became queen. But Louis was no match for Eleanor's fiery spirit. Chroniclers describe her as intelligent, bold, and dangerously independent. She traveled with knights, supported troubadours, and surrounded herself with poets who sang of courtly love, a radical idea in which knights pledged devotion to ladies, often outside of marriage. Rumors swirled that Eleanor herself was involved in such passions. Whispered tales accused her of being too close with her uncle, even with crusaders who fought beside her when she journeyed to the Holy Land. Whether true or not, the very existence of such gossip reveals how dangerous it was for a queen to be seen as a woman of desire. Eventually, Eleanor's marriage to Louis crumbled, and she wed Henry II of England, bringing her immense lands into his empire. But Henry, too, grew suspicious of her. Chroniclers claim Eleanor encouraged her sons to rebel against their father. Why? Some said it was politics. Others whispered it was jealousy for Henry's own many mistresses. What we know for certain is this: Eleanor lived in a world that demanded queens be silent, obedient, and faithful. She refused all three, and for centuries her name was tarnished with rumors of forbidden passions, proof that even a queen's heart could not be controlled. Number 2. Abelard and Heloise. The love that defied the church of Eleanor's story is one of rumor. The tale of Abelard and Heloise is one of devastating truth. Peter Abelard was a brilliant philosopher of the 12th century, renowned for his sharp mind and bold arguments. Heloise was equally gifted, a young woman educated far beyond most of her time. When Abelard became her tutor, intellect soon turned into passion. Their love burned quickly and dangerously. Heloise became pregnant, and Abelard arranged for her to give birth in secret. They even married, though Heloise resisted, fearing that marriage would damage Abelard's career. She wanted love, not duty, but their secret was uncovered. Heloise's powerful uncle, outraged by the scandal, took revenge in a brutal way. Abelard was seized in the night and castrated. The lovers were torn apart. Heloise was forced into a convent, Abelard into a monastery. Society had silenced their passion, and yet it could not erase it. For years, they exchanged letters. In them, Heloise spoke with raw honesty. She confessed she cared more for Abelard than for God, more for love than for salvation. Abelard wrote of guilt, of sin, of regret. Their letters survive today, a haunting testimony of passion, philosophy, and forbidden desire. They remind us that even in an age dominated by the church, love could challenge the very foundations of faith. Number 3. Secret loves of monks and nuns. Medieval monasteries were meant to be sanctuaries of purity. Monks and nuns swore vows of celibacy, devoting themselves entirely to God. But behind convent walls and monastery gates, human desire still lived. Records tell of nuns giving birth in secret, of monks sneaking into convents at night, of letters exchanged between cloisters filled with longing. In one French convent, a scandal erupted when several nuns were discovered to be pregnant. The punishment was severe, the abbess removed, the women shamed. But the story reveals an undeniable truth. Vows could not erase the deepest of human instincts. Some of these romances were desperate, born of loneliness. Others were genuine love stories, carried out in defiance of rigid rules. To the church, they were sins. To those who lived them, they were the only taste of freedom in a life of silence. Number 4, Tristan and Isolde, the legend that spoke truth. Not all forbidden loves come to us as history. Some are preserved as legend. The story of Tristan and Isolde was one of the most beloved romances of the Middle Ages. Tristan, a knight, escorts the Irish princess Isolde to Cornwall, where she is to marry King Mark. But on the journey, Tristan and Isolde mistakenly drink a love potion meant for her wedding night. From that moment, they are consumed with uncontrollable desire. Isolde marries King Mark, but her heart belongs to Tristan. Their affair is secret, passionate, and doomed. They are discovered, separated, and ultimately die tragically. Though a legend, the tale reflected reality. The Middle Ages were filled with arranged marriages, political unions, and strict laws against adultery. Yet people yearned for love, even if it meant destruction. Tristan and Isolde's story endured because it gave voice to a truth no law could silence. Forbidden love was everywhere. Number 5, peasant romances and hidden affairs. Forbidden love was not reserved for queens and knights. It lived in the villages and fields of ordinary people too. For peasants, marriage was often arranged by parents or even by lords who controlled their lands. But hearts did not always obey. Court records from medieval villages reveal countless scandals. Lovers caught in barns, young men accused of seducing married women, secret elopements that defied family wishes. For women, the risks were especially high. A hidden pregnancy could lead to shame, exile, or worse. For men, adultery could mean fines, public punishment, even death in extreme cases. Yet still, forbidden romances blossomed. Folk songs and ballads carried these stories of shepherds and maidens who loved despite the rules, of young couples who ran away to escape arranged marriages. Though their names are lost to history, the peasants who risked everything for love remind us that passion did not belong only to kings and queens. It was universal. It was human. Number 6, royal scandals they tried to erase. Forbidden love was especially dangerous in royal courts, where a single affair could threaten dynasties. In France, the infamous Tour de Nesle affair shook the monarchy. King Philip IV accused his daughters-in-law of adultery. Their lovers were executed in brutal fashion, their bodies mutilated. The women were imprisoned, disgraced forever. The scandal threatened the legitimacy of heirs and stained the royal family. In England, King Edward II was rumored to have been deeply attached, perhaps even in love with his male favorites, such as Piers Gaveston. Chroniclers wrote cautiously, but the whispers were clear. For a king to show such affection was dangerous, not only morally, but politically. His enemies used it to undermine his authority. These scandals were quickly buried, erased, or rewritten. Official histories painted them as lies, exaggerations, or sins. But the truth lingers. Even kings, bound by crowns and thrones, were vulnerable to forbidden desires. Number 7, love across enemy lines. Not all forbidden romances of the Middle Ages were about marriage contracts or church law. Some were about borders, faith, and war. For centuries, Europe was divided not only by kingdoms, but by religion. Christians, Muslims, and Jews often lived side by side, but also in deep conflict, especially during the Crusades. To love across these lines was seen as the ultimate betrayal. Chroniclers whisper of knights who fell in love with Muslim women during their campaigns in the Holy Land. One tale speaks of a Christian knight who spared the life of a Saracen princess, only to be captivated by her. Their romance was doomed caught between two worlds that would never allow it. In Spain, under both Muslim and Christian rule, romances bloomed in secret between people of different faiths. Some songs from medieval Andalusia speak of longing for a lover whose religion made union impossible. These were not just affairs of the heart, but dangerous acts in societies where conversion, exile, or execution were the punishments for disobedience. Even within Christian Europe, forbidden love crossed cultural lines. A nobleman marrying beneath his station, or a woman running away with someone outside her family's expectations, could face ruin. To love across boundaries, whether of class, culture, or faith, was to risk everything. And yet, these stories survived. They lived in ballads, in whispered family legends, in tales disguised as poetry. They show us that even in the most divided of times, love dared to cross enemy lines. Number 8, love that dared not speak. Forbidden same-sex desire. In the medieval world, same-sex love was perhaps the most silenced of all. The church condemned it, the law punished it, and chroniclers rarely wrote of it openly. And yet, if we look carefully between the lines of history, we see that it existed everywhere. In monastic communities, where men lived together in close quarters for years, rumors of secret bonds and forbidden intimacy often surfaced. Letters between monks sometimes reveal affection that goes beyond friendship, carefully coded words of devotion and longing. Royal courts were not untouched either. The most famous example is King Edward II of England, whose affection for his favorite, Piers Gaveston, scandalized his nobles. Chroniclers hinted, sometimes in veiled language, that the king loved Gaveston with a passion considered unfit for a ruler. His enemies used this to destroy him, eventually leading to Gaveston's brutal execution. In France, too, rumors spread of men who loved men, and women who sought one another's company in ways the church could not accept. Many of these stories were buried, erased from official records. But poetry, songs, and the occasional court document survive to remind us love has always been broader, wilder, and more diverse than the rules of society allowed. For those who dared to love someone of the same sex in the Middle Ages, discovery could mean shame, exile, or death. And yet, these hidden stories survived, proof that even the harshest silence cannot erase the truth of human desire. Number 9. Forbidden love and witchcraft. Passion as heresy. In the late Middle Ages, another danger emerged for those who loved outside the rules. Accusations of witchcraft. When a man fell desperately in love, and no explanation could be found, people whispered he had been bewitched. When a woman refused an arranged marriage, or seemed too attached to a lover, suspicion fell upon her. Love itself, if it defied expectations, could be branded as sorcery. Trial records from the 14th and 15th centuries are filled with chilling details. Women accused of brewing potions to inflame desire. Men charged with using charms to win the heart of a married lady. Even priests and nobles were caught in these cases, their romances reinterpreted as dealings with the devil. One story from Germany tells of a young woman condemned after she was discovered with a love charm written on parchment, meant to bind her lover's heart to her own. For the church, such passion was not just sin, it was heresy. The fear of forbidden love became entwined with the fear of witchcraft. Desire was no longer just dangerous, it was evidence of demonic influence. And thousands of women paid the ultimate price for defying society's expectations of whom they should love. This final layer of terror shows us just how deeply the medieval world feared passion. When love could not be controlled, it was demonized. And those who dared to follow their hearts often met the stake. Number 10. Love preserved in secret words. Even when the church, the crown, and the law tried to silence forbidden passion, love found another way to survive through words. Medieval literature is filled with coded romances, veiled confessions, and allegories of desire. Troubadours sang ballads of knights who adored ladies they could never marry. Poets wrote verses of lovers who met only in dreams, because reality would never allow them to be together. Some manuscripts even contain hidden love poems, written in the margins by anonymous scribes. In one, a monk copied a religious text, but in the side columns, he scribbled a poem about longing for someone who would never return his affection. The holy and the profane existed side by side on the same page. Legends like Lancelot and Guinevere told of adultery at the very heart of Arthur's kingdom, a knight who betrayed his king by loving the queen. These stories were dangerous, yet popular, because they spoke truths everyone recognized, but could not say aloud. In Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions alike, medieval poetry often contained layers of meaning. A verse about God might also be about a forbidden lover. A hymn of devotion could hide the language of desire. Words became the one place where passion could live without punishment. Love survived in the lines of songs, in the margins of manuscripts, and in legends passed from storyteller to storyteller. These secret writings remind us that while bodies could be punished, earned or imprisoned love itself could never be fully silenced.